The Brazilian Workers' Party candidate Fernando Haddad was greeted by a massive demonstration in Rio de Janeiro on Tuesday night. Haddad continues to call for a debate with his opponent Jair Bolsonaro before Sunday's runoff election. He said that the debate can take place anywhere and in any format, saying that democracy will suffer if voters are unable to compare the two candidates' ideas. Haddad has slightly narrowed the gap between himself and Bolsonaro in the most recent Ibope opinion poll published on Tuesday.
I have an announcement to make for you all. Sunday we're going to win the election. Sunday we're going to win the election. I have no doubt about what I'm saying. It's in the air. Since yesterday I have been feeling change in the air. We're beginning to grow and Jair Bolsonaro is beginning to fall. He's going to start trembling. He's going to start trembling. Jair, look at yourself in the mirror. Poor you, poor you. You're nothing more than a phony soldier. You only talk big because you have armed people around you. You in a hand-to-hand fight are nothing. You're nothing, Jair Bolsonaro.
A number of renowned Brazilian artists, including the singers Chico Buarque and Caetano Veloso, also came up in support of Haddad at the rally. Buarque and Veloso encouraged the crowd to vote for Haddad. There were also women in the crowd wearing T-shirts with the message, "Struggle like a girl," which is an attack on the far-right candidate Jair Bolsonaro's views on women.
I believe that Bolsonaro's side doesn't represent me at all. So I don't even think about why I might vote for him. The only solution for democracy is with Haddad.
With 4 days to go before the runoff, many fear that if Bolsonaro wins, he could install an authoritarian government. The movement called LA Now or Not Him says supporting Haddad is the only way to guarantee democracy. Protesters released colorful balloons in support of Brazil's diversity.
We are here not to cry. We are here to win the elections. Haddad for president. It was a big struggle to get it here. It was a big struggle to fight against the military regime. We want democracy. We want the continuity of a democratic form of government. We did not come here to cry. We are here to celebrate. Today is the celebration of democracy. A democracy on the streets. Haddad now.
After a day of rest, the main body of the Honduran migrant caravan is again moving northwards through Mexico on its way to the United States. Others are still in Guatemala or trying to leave Honduras itself. Our correspondent Gilda Silvestrucci brings us the latest from the Honduras-Guatemala border.
We are at the border between Honduras and Guatemala. Here, the government is maintaining an order to keep the borders closed and prohibit the crossing of migrants. But these migrants are attempting to cross rivers just around the area in order to be able to reach Guatemala City, to then continue on to Mexico and thereafter the main migrant caravan. And just within the last hours here, those who want to exit the country have to pay an amount somewhere between $50 and $70 in a group of 5 people, where a coyote, as they are called, the people who assist those trying to move through the mountainous area of the west of the country, are taken to the far side of Guatemala. But there, denouncements are being made regarding mistreatment. Organizations of defenders of human rights have been present to meet the high demand. Nevertheless, the border here remains closed.
Children and toddlers are among the thousands heading to the U.S. as they cross Mexico. Many of the migrants carry their children and their hopes. Older children walk by their parents alongside them on this difficult journey. Dehydration and exhaustion are among the most dangerous risks that they will face as they try to make their way towards a better future.
The children ask when we are going to arrive to the United States because they can't stand it anymore. They don't want to sleep here. They are hungry and tired.
They are exhausted, totally exhausted. We carry those who can't walk. We carry in our arms.
The United States Embassy in Mexico City saw a rally to condemn the U.S. and Mexican government's response to the migrant caravan. The protesters marched from the embassy to Mexico's Foreign Affairs Ministry with a message of solidarity for those risking all to flee Honduras. The caravan now comprises more than 7,000 asylum seekers, according to the United Nations. They insist that they will try to enter the U.S. despite President Trump's threat to close the U.S.-Mexico border.
The caravan will not cross our southern border illegally under any circumstances. If you seek to come here, go through the normal refugee process. If you apply for refugee status, a permanent solution is possible in Mexico or in a third country. But I can tell you with certainty, we are determined that illegal entry into the United States from this caravan will not be possible.
The Trump administration has made a number of accusations about the caravan. They suggest that there may be terrorists from the Middle East among the migrants, and that it was organized by leftists, and that it might be financed by Venezuela or the U.S. Democrats.
You had said that there were Middle Easterners in the caravan. Can you explain that? Are you saying there are terrorists?
Well, there could very well be, yeah. There could very well be. And if you look at...
you know for sure?
I have very good information. And if you look at what's happened with Honduras and statements made about Honduras, and even a phone call that our vice president had today, which I think you can maybe reveal. Do you want to mention that, Mike? Is that okay? Probably.
Certainly.
Go ahead, please.
No, at the President's direction, I spoke to President Hernandez of Honduras. He told me that the caravan that's now making its way through Mexico, headed for the southern border, was organized by leftist organizations and financed by Venezuela. We, as we've said...
And the Democrats, maybe? And the Democrats?
Well,
let me give you this pen. Let me give you the pen back.
The Salvadorian President Salvador Sanchez Cerén is visiting Cuba to strengthen commercial ties, solidarity programs, and medical cooperation. Sanchez Cerén said the two nations play a key role in the region, and he added that Cuban teachers are very important to the Salvadorian people, as more than 3,000 of them have benefited from the cooperation programs. Sanchez also defended Salvadorian migration to the United States.
El Salvador y Cuba hemos tratado de actuar.
El Salvador and Cuba have tried to act closely in all political scenarios, working towards making Latin America a united region and reinforcing economical ties. For us, immigrating is a human right, and so migrants' rights have to be respected. We're totally against Donald Trump's policy and vision of migration. Salvadorian migrants help the United States economy.
And in a tweet from Cuba, the Salvadorian president also expressed solidarity with the Honduran migrant caravan crossing Mexico. He tweeted that migration is a human right and that we must respect the rights of migrants. The first National Fair for Entrepreneurial Women has been taking place in El Salvador. It's making high-quality products available to the people.
75 entrepreneur women are showcasing and marketing garments, shoes, bags, and wallets, as well as handicrafts, food and drinks. Industriousness and the creative potential of El Salvadoran women becomes apparent in the diversity of products.
This is to show that these women are capable of being entrepreneurs and are building their own businesses. They are even providing jobs to other women.
The first National Entrepreneurial Fair is a showcase for Reina Ferrufino, who makes embroidered clothes along with her mother-in-law. They have a workshop in a small town in the east of the country.
Our business increased and we expanded our workshop. We have a team of almost industrial size. We already have industrial machinery, embroidery machines. We give work to 6 women in the community. Besides, this is a family business. My husband, my son, my daughter, even our grandchildren, they all work here.
This fair also reaches people who make handicrafts, art and drawings. That is the case of the young artist Mallory Vasquez, who was trained at the Female Enterprise School and Ciudad Mujer.
They have given me the opportunity to prepare a business plan and gave me the support I needed to make this artwork, because at first I only did it per order, but they convinced me to have an inventory and exhibit it. That's how this started.
Ciudad Mujer has trained over 67,000 women since its creation in 2011. It has also facilitated access to credit for more than 4,900 entrepreneurs at ideal rates, which allow them to empower themselves and gain economic independence.
Time now for a short break. We'll have more news in a minute.
actions have an impact on the environment. It's our responsibility to change for the sake of our planet. Let's be part of this transition. Watch, preserve, and protect your Green Zone. Wednesdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. Argentina's lower house is set to vote on the budget this Wednesday. Thousands demonstrated outside Congress on Tuesday, and more protests are planned for the coming hours. The protesters say that this budget will harm economically vulnerable persons in society and that problems like food shortages can no longer be tolerated. They also say the budget is being rushed through to meet the demands of the International Monetary Fund.
The families today, for the most part, no longer have a job, so their situation is that when they are out of work, they have to go to the picnic areas and the dining rooms. So how do we support them today if we don't have food to give them?
What this budget is going to bring is more hunger, a bigger lack of budget for health, for education. We are all claiming this and asking that the government does not turn a deaf ear.
Hurricane Willa has been downgraded to a tropical storm as it moves across Mexico, but it is still bringing with it heavy rain. 19 municipalities have been declared in a state of extraordinary emergency. Willa earlier weakened to a Category 3 hurricane before it made landfall on the Pacific coast. People living on the western coast of Mexico have taken refuge in schools and other shelters to protect themselves. Residents in the city of Escuinapa and Mazlatan sealed off their windows and doors with wooden planks. Families have also been evacuated from tourist resorts. Thousands of people in Venezuela have been affected by torrential rain. The capital, Caracas, has seen heavy flooding in recent days as river burst its banks. Hundreds of people have been evacuated from their homes. The authorities have opened 400 shelters around the country for those in need.
We are looking closely at the Guaire River that crosses the city. We are using special technology to measure its water levels. The Intertropical Convergence Zone has brought torrential rain to parts of the eastern and southern Caribbean. On Monday, more than 90 millimeters of rain fell in Caracas. The National Emergency System is monitoring weather conditions in order to ensure to safeguard people. The impact of global warming is undeniable in this situation.
Urban farmers in Venezuela are sowing seeds of hope and a new agricultural revolution as they harvest produce from more than 40,000 hectares of farmland.
This is how a so-called Mountain Fighters Day begins in Cacique Tuna, right here in the heart of Caracas. A sizable harvest of vegetables and fruits grown on 12 hectares of land will now be distributed for sale to thousands of families.
Good morning, friends. How are you?
What are we going to do today?
Well, we are going to plant paprika and afterwards we will cut the seeds. What we are doing is offering agriculture classes in schools. This is directly from the producer to the community.
Kriberth is one of 18 farmers who lives on this land.
I came to visit my family and I found this beautiful farmland. My family is working here and I am fighting here with them.
Blades, seeds, and their bare hands are the only tools these farmers are using to cultivate the land. Luis wants to keep developing a strong culture of farming the land, thereby helping the community.
Here in Caracas, there are people who work. We want to open an exchange with other farmers so we can all sell high-quality crops that Venezuelans deserve. So we want to bring together all farmers here in Caracas.
This Cacique Tiuna community can be an example to the rest of the country's farming sector. It also promotes farming not only in the countryside but also in the city.
The former Ecuadorian president, Rafael Correa, has spoken out about WikiLeaks co-founder Julian Assange and the possibility that he might be handed over to the U.S. government if he leaves the Ecuadorian embassy in London.
It is taken very seriously because there is an agreement between the Ecuadorian government with the American government. We were visited by Vice President Mike Pence several months ago, and they agreed this to turn over Assange, among other things, for instance, to end the Chevron affair and to isolate Venezuela. So it's part of an agreement already set, so they are following this agreement. So it's very serious. They try to humiliate Assange, and they are humiliating themselves. They are humiliating Ecuador, my country, because they are, these rules are really against human rights, and they are trying to isolate Assange and to push him to abandon our embassy.
Colombian teachers are protesting for more resources for education. They say the government isn't honoring the agreement reached between both sides in 2017.
Teachers in Colombia gathered in front of the Education Ministry to demand to the government it fulfills the agreements reached with the teachers in 2017. Demonstrators have denounced that only 20% of the agreement has been fulfilled.
Since 2001, there has been a decrease of resources for our sector. Resources for education have decreased dramatically during these last 15 years.
A student from public universities also joined the protests. They say the current situation affects everyone in the public education system.
This is an historical debt that the government has accumulated. Now it reaches 40 trillions of pesos that the government needs to allocate for primary school all the way to university system.
According to a public decree, the government tried to use royalties to fund education, but authorities cannot use these resources as they don't belong to them.
They want to delegate the responsibility of the administration resources to local governments. What they want is to privatize education.
The Colombian Federation of Education Workers, FECODE, is looking to create a high-level commission to build a project that ensures education resources.
The majority of the agreement has not been fulfilled. This needs to continue around a negotiation table in order to build a project for health, education, public services, basic sanitation, and drinking water.
Teachers want the government to prioritize resources for the education sector and are demanding a state policy regarding this.
Obviously, the government cannot provide resources immediately, but we've presented a proposal to receive funds gradually for the next 10 years.
Teachers are hoping to hold a meeting with the education minister.
The Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, has met the Barbadian Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, for a discussion on CARICOM and other matters. Prime Minister Mottley came to Trinidad to prepare for the special heads of government meeting to be held in Port of Spain on December 3rd and 4th. Prime Minister Rowley, also met with the Grenadian Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, to discuss the CARICOM summit. And still in Trinidad and Tobago, tributes are pouring in after the death of the legendary calypsonian Winston Bailey, better known as the Mighty Shadow. Bailey died on Tuesday at the age of 77. The musician Dr. Roy Cabe described the death as a great loss, remembering him as an incredible artist and an even greater human being. The soca artist Dexter Stewart said his music was shaped and inspired by Shadow's unique style.
Every night I lie down in my bed, I hearing a bassman in my head.
The sounds of Shadow there. Time for the second break of this newscast. More news in a few.
has always subjugated the masses. But who are the actors behind every move? What are their real interests? We analyze every move on Critical Move. Weekdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. The Spanish Prime Minister has defended Parliament's refusal to freeze arms sales to Saudi Arabia, this despite the international outcry over the murder of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The government faced a similar dispute in September over the sale of laser-guided bombs to the kingdom. It decided to go ahead with the deal after Saudi Arabia threatened to cancel a $2 billion contract to buy warships. Thousands of people have protested in Greece against the proposal of creating 2 NATO bases. Supporters of the Communist Party of Greece chanted anti-NATO and anti-capitalist slogans as they marched. They are protesting against the construction of 3 NATO bases. Protesters said the bases are used to launch war and spew fire and death against the people. The South African authorities will take action to recover millions of dollars stolen from a local bank. The local government minister has told Parliament that he instructed lawyers to, quote, launch a lawsuit on this matter to try and recover the money. The collapse of the VBS Bank resulted in one of the most serious graft cases to rock the country in the last year.
This should not have happened. So the only thing that's important is to make sure that we take action on those who are responsible, and secondly, we must then make sure that we pursue the recovery of the money, and in the process is to also make sure that our monitoring is tighter.
Parents and students in Liberia have demonstrated against the closure of a school as a rape scandal came to light. The news outlet ProPublica unveiled rape and sexual abuse cases perpetrated against young girls by the U.S. charity More Than Me and its co-founder Macintosh Joseph. Now parents are afraid the schools managed by the organizations could be closed down. The schools are supposedly aimed at saving girls from a life of sexual exploitation.
If this school be closed down, which one of the school be waiting right now to take the children in? Because of the stigma and all they own them. Which one of the school be waiting right now to take the children in? There is no other school waiting right now. So the masses are just coming over here to say things what they're not supposed to say. So now when the parents decide to come on the street to advocate for our children right and our children education.
Time now to take a look at some of the other stories making headlines around the world.
Around 280 workers of a steel mill factory in northern France have blocked the entrance of the plant to protest against its closure. Employees of the Ascowell steel mill took turn blocking access by setting tires and pallets on fire. The owners of the factory are struggling to find any buyer to pay the desired price. The Strasbourg court has issued a 2-week deadline to decide on the fate of the factory. Japanese journalist Junpei Yasuda has been confirmed to be alive in Turkey after being kidnapped in Syria. He was allegedly captured by an Al-Qaeda affiliate in 2015. Japanese authorities verified the identity of the 44-year-old freelance journalist who was freed by Turkish intelligence authorities. This was not the first time Yasuda was detained. He was held in Baghdad in 2014, where the Japanese government negotiated his release.
My name is Junpei Yasuda, Japanese journalist. I have been held in Syria for 40 months. Now in Turkey, now I'm in safe condition. Thank you very much.
6 people have been killed and another 30 injured in a car bomb blast at a market in a town near Mosul in Iraq. No group claimed immediate responsibility, but the country's top military commander has blamed Islamic State group for the attack. The Iraqi government said it defeated ISIL in December 2017 after ousting the group from all territories in the country.
Hundreds of people have been flocking to the port of China's Zhuhai city to try out the world's longest sea bridge. Open to the public on Tuesday, the bridge connects the mainland with Hong Kong and Macau. The first bus left on Wednesday morning from the Chinese end, while just 40 minutes later, the first private car arrived from Hong Kong. The 55-kilometer-long bridge has installed facial recognition system at both ports to speed up border crossings. We've come to the end of this news brief. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website at tellusyourtv.net/English. And join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Tell Us Your English, I'm Sony Gray. Thank you for watching.